All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. With me is my co-host, Matt. Tonight's guest, Coach Roberts, who's the head football coach at Eagles Landing Christian Academy. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill. Matt, I don't have it queued up. Hold on. Welcome to the Board Drill, Coach. Welcome. Here we go.
I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it, man. Excited to be on.
So much harder than people think. Somebody somewhere is like, how hard is a soundboard? And it's not, but it's a different screen. So, Coach, tonight, I appreciate you coming on. We met you a long time ago and then kind of reconnected at a recent clinic that we were at in Georgia. We will not tell the story of how we know you the first time around.
No, we can tell it. That's all fair game. That's all fair game. I think, what was the score going into halftime? 42 to 14?
You were killing us.
I believe so.
Yeah. So for your guys' great subscribers and followers that don't know, we were beating these guys 42 to 14, and I mean, I was thinking we're about to get a clock, and I'm going to have an early dinner tonight. And then these guys had grit. That I haven't used that word for about a decade, and we ended up losing, I think, 50 to 49. It was, I didn't watch the film for long, but I will say, after I saw you guys at the clinic, I actually did pull back the tape. And I was like, I haven't watched it in a long time. I got to watch back. But it was, hey, it happens. I tell these kids all the time, man, you do this long enough, you're going to be on the other end of some of those crazy games.
That was an absolutely incredible game to be a part of. I mean, I know from my end it was. I know not your end, but Coach.
It was. It was.
To see our players battle back from that when they showed up not believing in themselves and kept fighting and battling. You know, as a coach, that's what's fulfilling.
Oh, and especially too, man, because, it was early on in social media was around, but Lorenzo was such a presence, and so I think the big thing for you guys too, man, was like, I think you guys forced a fumble on your sideline right at the start of the second half. And
on a kickoff.
But you hit him and he fumbled.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of like, oh, Superman can bleed too, and I think that was a huge thing for you guys, and it was, and then, I mean, I talk about my son all the time now, like, there's certain points in a game where everything has to go right or wrong. And it seems like everything, like we had a fumble on the goal line. We had we threw an interception. We had another fumble. And, man, it was just, it was a lesson that I had to learn early on. It was an awesome game for you guys. And, I've been on the other end of it. I've played in a game that we had no business winning and we won. And so, it's, you can look
Coach,
back and,
it was awesome. But on the other end for me, A, I was the defensive guy in that game. So that wasn't great. But B, it was also one of the funniest game plans we've ever put together. I know I've told you this, but our goal was to just let Lorenzo run for as many yards as he wanted to in the first half and get tired. And I'm being dead serious. We brought this up to Matt, and I remember we're in the office, and Matt goes, "You want to do what?" And I said, "We're going to stop everyone but him in the first half."
Yeah. No, I mean, but I think I told you guys this too at the clinic, and this was the craziest deal because I want to say, and you were successful in that strategy because I want to say, I know Lorenzo had upwards of 300 rushing. I think we had over 500 as a team. And
he had to have 290 in the first half.
I was the offensive coordinator at the time. And the defensive guys actually said in our Sunday meeting, as we're attending a funeral, essentially, like, how do we lose that? And they said, Coach, we really think you should throw the ball more, and you guys scored too quick in the first half. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, and I promised myself, I said, if I'm ever a head coach, I'm never going to be that coach that says you guys scored too quick. And so, funny thing is, I'm dead serious. We played my last year at university. We played against DeLand when Darlington, he's a machine.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't punt the entire game. And there was only 2 punts in the whole game. Fortunately, it was him. But Coach Darlington, I was defense coordinator for that year, and I think we had 295 clips of them on film. They'd only run 12 clips in the I formation. And this guy hadn't played a game in 3 weeks, and he comes out in everything but the single wing. And so we kept scoring, but we had no time to make an adjustment on the side. And it was funny because my office coordinator, I'm like, keep scoring. Whatever you do, keep scoring, because I don't know if we're going to stop them. But, I mean, the thought did creep in my head. I'm like, I remember when those guys told me that we were scoring too fast. But I'm like, nope, keep scoring. And so it ended up working out.
I've had those nights where I've looked at the OC and I'm like, hey, that's the only stop we're getting all night. So just letting you know.
Yeah,
tipping you off. We got one, and let's move on.
we picked them off on the second drive. They ran out of we turned them over. They ran out of halftime. The half, and then we intercepted on the last drive of the game, and it was a 50-35 game. And I'm like, I was so happy because it was first win in school history. I beat them, but I'm just like, God. I mean, it was. There's a picture of me. There's a picture of me on all fours where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like this. It's like 4th and 1, and like we have a guy dead to rights, but they have the Tage kid too now. He's so freaking good. Yeah, I mean, and the crazy thing was too was like, I don't think they had a run over 15 yards, but it's just death by 4 yards, death by 4 yards, and you're just like, God. And I mean, yeah, he's become a great. I'm honored that that I think we're friends. But man, there's so many people that do the single wing, but he is just the guru. He is it's funny because I talked to him before that game, and I said, Coach, you haven't played in 3 weeks. I'm a little bit nervous what you have come up with. And he let out the most evil, slow laugh. And I'm like, I went over to the guy's locker room, I'm like, we're in trouble. Because he was like, and I'm like, oh, crap. Because the thing was, too, the year before we played them, we lost to them 14-7, but we held them to one offensive touchdown. So, I knew, I knew that we'd done a pretty good job, but I also knew that we he had something for me. And boy, did he ever. So
he always has something up his sleeve. We caught him in the 2018 playoffs, and we shut down the single wing. Of course, though, he ran what's it called, where you hand it off to the guy behind Statue of Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
4 times for about 200 and something yards.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and beat us in the playoffs on Statue of Liberty.
And he called, when I came up here, he called me, and he was like, hey, now that we're not going to be seeing each other anymore, can we get together and talk about, what I do and what you liked? And I'm like, Coach, when you're retired, I'll talk as much as you want. I was like, but if I ever have to see you again, I mean, I got to have some kind of puncher's chance,
I love it. All right. I love the talk, but let's get to it for the guys that are probably listening. Like, you guys quit talking about Florida football. We are a national brand, believe it or not. All right, without further ado, Coach, let's get into it. Quarterback run game and some of those variations. Why don't you go ahead and share your screen?
Yep.
While Coach is sharing his screen, please like and subscribe. Again, on YouTube, find us on Borgel.com. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Become a subscriber. That's how we get everything out there. And again, that's how we grow the brand and get great coaches on every week. So, Coach, without further ado, go ahead. We're just going to be the dummies that ask questions from here on out.
You guys can see this, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So, I mean, we talked about it, and I think you guys can kind of speak to it. And, Matt, I really respected going against you. When you were an offensive coach, I think the biggest challenge is you have what you're good at, you know what you like, but you also you have an identity, but you also have to adapt. And I think the biggest challenge that we face is how much is too much, how much is adapting away from who we are, but also give us a chance to be successful. And I think about even that game we talk about. I mean, I think the year after that game, we went to your guys' place, and I don't know if you guys threw the ball 10 times. You direct snapped it to a running back because of who you had and what you had. And so, we have always tried to adapt to what we have and really what can be successful. We were in Florida my last couple of years at university. We had a pretty good talent gap. I mean, the reality of it was we had better dudes than most teams that we were playing, except when we would run into a Mainland or a Seminole or a DeLand. And so we could be kind of vanilla. We didn't have this talent gap, here. I was telling somebody the other day, we played in a 10-team region. Of the 9 teams in the region, the other 9 teams in the region, 7 of them have dudes with SEC offers. And of those 7, 5 have multiple guys. We didn't have a guy with an SEC offer. And so, we couldn't just come out and kind of be vanilla per se. We always ran the quarterback. Maybe not when we had Lorenzo, because that would be dumb, right? But we always ran the quarterback, but we kind of had to be selective when we did it because, it's high school football. You don't have a stable of them because your backup quarterback, if he's any good, is probably going to transfer and go play somewhere. And that's just the reality of it. So, the funny thing about this is,
Coach, real quick, sorry. I think we lost your screen share there. If you can reshare it.
Did you really?
Yeah, popped off on us.
I got a message. Allow share entire screen.
There you go.
Good. All right, Where was I at? We good?
Yeah,
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 you're
all
good,
good.
coach.
Okay,
We got
yeah.
you now.
Yeah, so again, we just tried to, make sure that we found a way to give our guys a chance to be successful. We're a two-way school, but for the last 2 years we were playing in 4A, which is the new 5A. And so we were going to get some really, really top tier talent. And, and the years that we had dudes, we could just line up in 11 personnel, 10 personnel, run split flow zone and, run a inside zone and lock the guy in RPO, and that'd be great. We felt like we really didn't have that luxury. The funny thing is, and kind of going back to, like I talked about facing Matt all those years and everything, is we hardly had most of these plays. We didn't even run during our scrimmages. We didn't even have in during fall camp. It wasn't until we kind of morphed throughout the year, we're kind of going, man, we got to figure out a way to kind of generate some stuff. So that's my cell phone there. If anybody wants to reach out, history really quick. I played at Valdosta State. We were spread, but my coach at Valdosta State were really, really good at this too. Like my last year there, we had 3 offensive linemen that would go into NFL camps. One of them was starting for the Falcons in the Super Bowl. So that year, we just ran inside zone every different way, and we were really good at it. 2 years before, we couldn't run inside zone. And so, here we were about Valdosta State. We actually had under center plays, which is just like, like communists at Valdosta State, but they adapted. My first year coaching, God rest his soul, I worked for Phil Ziegler, who just passed away, a legend in Central Florida. And so that was kind of, he gave me my first shot. We had a great quarterback, Jason Driscoll, who will go play for Lane at FAU. We ran him some just because he was a giant. He wasn't the big as Jeff, but he was pretty good. And then when I went to university, we had Lorenzo, and so we didn't really run the quarterback there because it'd be dumb to, right? He's the number 2 running back in America. Defensive coordinators would actually let him get as many yards as possible to get tired. But it was after the year after he graduated. My first couple games were calling plays that we thought, and I thought, everybody, you get arrogant, you get prideful, and you think, man, like we got this thing figured out. And then the next year when that guy's not there and you call trap into the same front that you saw the year before, and he doesn't make 4 guys miss, and you're like, okay, I got to figure something out. And so that was when we kind of morphed into the gap scheme RPO world, which is what everybody kind of did at the time. When I became the head coach in 23, my whole offensive staff we'd been together. And so I felt really good about turning over to them. But I really felt like, honestly, it worked out perfect. I had interviewed some guys for the DC. I just wasn't sold on it. It was a lot of blitz heavy guys, and I love the blitz, but I'm not, I think your base should be pretty good, as well. And so, being the DC for those 2 years really, I think, helped me just understand the other side of it, and you hear it at all these clinics, and they say go sit in on those meetings, and it's one thing to sit in on a defensive meeting if you're an offensive guy. It's another thing to have to run the freaking unit, and to have those questions, when your kids ask, Coach, what are we going to do to this, or whatever. And so that was really, really beneficial to me. And then obviously I got the chance to come up here to Georgia. Everybody talks about how great it is, and it's pretty unique, for sure. So as far as the QB run game goes, when we were there at university, my 2 years as head coach, we ran the quarterback, but you can see Malachi. He was a great passer. He was a great passer, but we couldn't run him a ton because of how thin he was. He was 155 pounds soaking wet. And so we ran him, but we ran him, kind of sprinkled in the red area, critical downs, and so he had 9 rushing touchdowns, but it wasn't like it was a staple of our offense. When we got here, we started off the year, we had 1 QB run installed, right? The kid that was the starter was a pure passer. And then, again, we called 0 quarterback runs during our 2 fall scrimmages. Wasn't really a thought about who we were or what we were. He got hurt in week 1. We missed a pass protection. The backup is a tough kid. He's not the pure passer, or he wasn't the pure passer at the time as this other guy. And so we kind of go, okay, well, what can this guy do, right? Like, we want to give him a chance. I think I've heard somebody say before, like if you judge a fish's ability to climb a tree, you're not giving that fish a chance, right? And so we wanted to give him some things that he was successful at. And, the more we kind of installed it and messed with it, man, like this kid put the ball in the gut. He could shuffle. He could slow play it. He could see it. And so, that kind of helped us kind of evolve. And then most important too, right? Like the talent.
Coach, real quick. Sorry, your screen cut out again. I'm sorry.
Golly, Moses, why is it doing that?
I don't know. I assume it's something you're doing. I always blame the guest.
Yeah, right.
No,
I know it says that I'm. All right, hold on.
it's some interaction you're doing that's kicking it out every time.
I'm not touching it. Maybe it's because I'm tapping the huddle thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Are you sharing the screen or presentation?
Whole screen. You want me to do presentation instead?
Yeah, might as well try it.
Let me see it. Hold on. Or let's do this. Let's say I'll share a window instead. Share this window. All right, let's try that. Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
You're good.
All right, sorry guys.
Good.
And so again, the talent of competition that we were going against. I mean, we were going against some freaking really good football players. We couldn't just run the ball out. We couldn't just run power at them and be successful. The year before, when I took the job, I heard about the offensive line. I heard the offensive line was the weak point of the team. Which is crazy because we had some good looking kids. But I mean, the team only had 500 yards rushing the year before. You guys know, I mean, you don't have much of a chance if that's the case. This year we were closer to 2,000, and we had no transfers. So it's not like sometimes you see those coaches and like, well, we did this, and it's like, well, yeah, you had 3 Division I move-ins. Like our right side of our offensive line was 2 converted tight ends, and so it was really really beneficial for us. Our number one staple, our play that we ran the most, the kid that was most comfortable with, was just our basic power read. We did it. We ran it 81 times. One of the benefits, honestly, of being in Georgia too, is just a luxury of I don't have to coach multiple sports. And so I'm able to self scout, and so we're looking at it now, and like we average almost 70 yards a clip. The wrinkles that we did, I'm a big believer in unbalanced formations, giving a different picture. Shifts, right? So can we give you some eye candy? Again, I heard it said one time, you don't have to trick the coach that's been coaching for 18 years. You got to trick the 18-year-old. And so how can we give you some different looks and different things just to kind of, we're talking about what our kids watch, right? Like Paw Patrol and Blue, right? I mean, Squirrel, right? Like that movie Up. Like, how can I get the 18-year-old kid who's been told to fit the C gap all week or, to take the back, and all of a sudden, well, that kid's motioning, or it's something different. Then we added a toss wrinkle to it. The defensive coordinator and me, we've all seen those tosses that go awry. And so, I mean, that made me nervous, but it did help us get the edge faster. And then, kind of from the rocket toss and the dive option world, we played a team in Florida when I was a DC and when I was a head coach, and, triple option. And whenever they would motion, we would kind of swing down. Well, then they started return motion, and that really screwed us. And so, if we felt like you were going to roll down your safeties, well, then we would kind of do the return motion. So we'll show a couple clips of it. And then we'll go from there. But again, it's nothing exotic. It's nothing wild. But it's just something that gave us a chance to be successful. This was our second game of the year, our first region game. You can kind of see the setting here. It's 3rd and 5. I think we had a 1-score lead. There's maybe 2 minutes left in the game. We have to it had been raining. We had an hour and a half rain delay. If I was at university, we'd probably call some kind of cool RPO and, maybe split flow zone or whatever. That really wasn't us. This right tackle right here, I'm pumped for him. He's going to Barry. This was his second game of varsity football. It was the second game of football. He's a beautiful kid, but, he's not going to maul anybody, right? This kid played tight end the year before. And so we
cut out again, coach. Sorry.
Oh, golly, Moses. What is it doing? It's my fault. Clearly, it's got to be huddle, we think, right?
I don't know. I've never had it just randomly cut out on people like this.
Yeah, I don't know why it's cutting out. Never seen that.
Normally, people can't get it shared to begin with.
Well, we'll just keep rocking it out until it can't. So,
we're good.
So again, we got to have it here. It's 4th and 5. We kind of tell this back right here. He's responsible for the +1 player. That's the way we kind of make it the most simple. I can show an end zone copy, but we're going to read this guy. He's the read. The +1 player is the first color that shows up. And we want to pin him. There's some clips here where we don't do a great job of that. But in the perfect world, we want to pin him. So, they walk up, they're trying to load the box. We do a good enough job. This guy, because again, in Georgia, these guys are really well coached. And so this guy squeezes it, right? He squeezes a down block, right? We don't have to block him right now. Again, I wish this guy would do a little bit more here. He was battling through an injury. Love the kid to death, but and so he gets just enough of this guy. Now, we'd made the no moss call, which meant get the first down and go down, but it's high school football, and these kids hadn't won a game. They hadn't won a home game in 3 years. And so this was a pretty big deal here. And I love my pulling guard, our guard just, getting all kinds of pumped up. So that was a pretty big deal here. Now here's another look that we do. So here's an unbalanced set. We kind of have all of our unbalanced formations that have kind of a school name associated with it because we kind of consider them a test for the defense. But again, like these guys were our region champions. This defensive end right here, I think he's going to UNLV with Dan Mullen. And the thing is, man, like they had another guy, number 9, that's got like Michigan offers, and so it was like a hockey shift. I mean, you were just in trouble no matter what. And I think they only gave up like 12 a game, and we were able to put 35 on them. Now we also gave up a bunch, but. So here with the unbalanced set, we'll do some different things out of this. This guy actually runs a bubble here. That's wrong. But, again, we're reading that guy, that edge player. His job is, again, he's the +1 defender. We want to pin him. He can double team this guy. Number 6 can double team, but we'd put in a wrinkle. And so he kind of, gets off of it. But again, I love outside zone. We weren't good enough just to line up and say, hey, we're going to run outside zone, and block these guys and whatever. So again, you can kind of see the end zone copy here. He gets a good squeeze, right? We're pinning the +1, right? And my rule for the quarterback on the power read, especially as they get good at it, I've heard guys talk about, can you see the decal? Can you see the number? You get 2 shuffles, right? You get 2 shuffles. If he's really good, I'll let him get 3. And his rule is if he can tackle the back, you pull it. If he can't tackle it, you get, if he can tackle the back, you pull it. If he can't tackle the back, you give it. And so we try to not make it too exotic or anything like that. And so right here, he's kind of dead footed, right? Give it, and let's get the guy out of there. Now at the end of the day, when in doubt, the play is designed for him, right? Now here's another look that we would do. So we'll just flip the back here. This kid was a baseball player, and it's funny, right, man? Like these small schools, you got to recruit the hallway. This kid played running back the year before, and he ran into the line of scrimmage more times than not, and I think he averaged like -2 yards a carry, and he's probably our most athletic kid in school. And he didn't come out for football right away, and he was like, "Coach, I can't just run and get my face in every time." And so I'm like, "Look, man, I'll sign a contract with you that I'll only put you on the edge, because we needed his speed." And so I think once he saw that, we were going to use his talents, accordingly, he worked with us and came to. So don't love it into the buy one. But again, it was just a different wrinkle, and so 9's a good player, right? I think he's got some Michigan offers and everything else like that. The other thing that I like about it is his gap scheme. These guys stun it and twist it a whole lot. But again, right, we're going to read him, right? We'll get a double team. The guy stunts and kind of takes himself out. So that we lose the double team. He should just come up to 11. Our tackle should, and again, right? Like if we were just going to run power, we're probably not getting that big a hole, right? That's just the reality of it, right? Now, I joke with my quarterback. He's running track right now. I've got more clips of this guy getting tackled on the 2-yard line than anybody in America. But, it's okay. We'll get that fixed. All right, so here's an unbalanced clip again. Sorry, I got my game notes there. So we're misaligned, right? But again, like if they're misaligned, right, we tell the quarterback, right? We're reading that guy really quick. Right, he squeezes because his coach has been yelling at him because hey man, you're supposed to squeeze a down block, right? We get on the edge. Now again, we can do a better job here, but this was I think our 3rd game of the year. But we get an 11-yard gain, right? And I had to really make sure our guys understood like that was expected, because early on in the year when we got a big run, it was like we won the Super Bowl, and you kind of want to find the balance between celebrating but also not getting too wild. So here's a 2-back. Again, adapt to who you have. We had 2 really good backs. We didn't really have a tight end at first when the year started. And so, the back near side would be the +1 player, and the other guy's flat, and so 52 squeezes. Now, this guy blocks him by mistake. This is the baseball player. I think this is the 2nd game out. So we screw it up a little bit. This is unintentional. but again, it gives us enough action, and we score on it there, and it's just a pretty gnarly deal. Yeah, here's a better look at. I'll give you the end zone
Coach.
copy. Yep, I
We
froze
lost
again,
you.
didn't I? Golly
Yep.
Moses.
Guess what? It's all right. Let's just reload and keep going. It's good. So we'll just keep going. If
We're just
you're
gonna keep
listening, we
rocking it out.
apologize for the technical difficulties tonight, but we're just going to ride with it because we're the board
Yeah,
drill.
it's Georgia, right? It's the Georgia-Florida connection. So again, this was in the fourth quarter. This was play 160, right? I think these kids are getting sick and tired of it. But again, we try to simplify it because I know, one of the answers is, we can exchange it, we can scrape exchange it or whatever. And so again, we try to keep it simple as the read and the +1, who's going to show up? Somebody's going to show up. And so again, he knifes it, right? Well, then we'll block the +1. Pretty easy, and we're on the edge, right? And again, right, like if we were just going to run outside zone, we're not getting that hole. Now we've had years where that's a touchdown. Unfortunately, this wasn't, but that's the reality of it. We'll take it. You know what I mean? Here's another look again, like we're talking about, just some different eye candy. 6 was our best player, so let's just give them something that the defensive guys have to go squirrel, and look at it. Right, just give them some kind of, maybe they're going to sprint out, maybe whatever it may be. And so we get them to go over, right? Again, seven's wrong here, right? 7's wrong. He should arc to the +1 player. But you still kind of get them 2 guys in a gap. I can't call it what I normally call it because it's a family-friendly show. But we get, 2 guys in a gap. And again, right, like we get a nice little, what is it? We get an alley here and an alley there, as the old Lombardi said. And so, a good ball play for us. I'll go to our next kind of wrinkle off it. And again, this is like just different ways that we would try to do it. So a 3-by-1 alignment, motion the guy back into the backfield, just different ways that we can get to the same play. This was a game after our fall break. And so we put the ball on the ground entirely too much early on. But again, we bring him back here. We tell 7, you're pinning the +1. We're going to read 45. 45 was a heck of a ball player. I mean, he was one of those kids that early on in the game, you're like, we're going to go at that kid. And then that kid made our lives kind of a nightmare, but he kind of squats a little bit. And, we get out on the edge. I'd like to pin the guy just because to me, if we can get the edge, that's better. And we can, eliminate all the people running to the ball. But again, we get the same, type of deal there. And you can see like, our guard is an athletic joker. He's a former tight end, and so let's get him in space. And, I'd like him to just kind of look inside here. But again, like, let's do what the kids do well. Let's give them a chance. Here's a different look. We bring number 6 in. Now we've got a tight end set. Our tight end's back. I like to arc the guy on the power read. If I can wash him down with a tight end, I will. If you can see here, like our tight end's a tough joker, man. He's a 6'2" baseball player. He was a sophomore. The kid he's blocking is a 6'4.5" power forward. That is just, you watching them warm up and you're like, crap, what do I got here? And so again, I'm not going to block him. I'm going to arc him. And so the +1 player, he becomes the +1 guy. And so we kind of have a +1 and then a +2, essentially. And so we give an arc tag on this, just to slow that guy down, right? He kind of shuffles. You can kind of see the backer getting ready to scrape, right? All right, we'll just take it inside. Now, again, man,
Wonderful.
A young Matt Dixon probably scores on that. No, I'm just kidding.
Not even close.
Yeah, I know. But so again,
Coach,
and we, yes, sir.
Coach, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When you see an odd front, let's say you got a 4 or a 4-eye.
Yep.
What are you telling your tackle as far as rules there when you're running your power read?
Yeah, the 4-eye is unique, right? If there's a stack backer, again, if we've done it both ways. If it's a 4 and I feel like we can wash the guy, then we'll allow potentially like maybe a buddy call depending on if our center, if our guard, if we think our center's not going to get beat over the top with the nose, we'll allow like a double team. If he's a 4-eye, like I love a 4-eye, man. Like we were a tight front. I would just rather arc him. Now the problem is with that, the read happens quicker for the quarterback, and so you kind of got to have a plan for that. But a lot of the tackles that we were facing this year with our tackles, like we weren't going to drive that 4-eye out of there. And that's why the 4-eye is great. And so we would but we would also probably run like more of our counter read stuff. If we weren't going to just arc him, but arcing him was most of the time our answer this year. And then we would allow the guard in the center to kind of work. Combo on the nose to the backside backer. We would hinge with the backside tackle, and we would go from there. But yeah, the 4 eyes tough. I mean, like I love the tight front. That's what we base out of when I was on defense.
Reload that screen.
Reload the screen? Yep, you know it. Well, I think we're getting shorter and shorter here. We're getting shorter runs.
Yeah, by the end of the podcast, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, right. And so like let me see if we didn't get a lot of tight fronts this year, but we did get some for sure. We placed a lot of even fronts, surprisingly. Again, here we are going to kind of run it to the open side. Which is funny too, man, because like I think back to like when I was a wing T coach and like when I would go against you guys and like we would get in this formation to run weak side ISO, like we're going to run belly G, we're going to run, belly and we might do an RPO on the edge. I didn't have Lorenzo. We couldn't just run ISO to the weak side, to the open B gap, unfortunately. Maybe with the NIL world, we can get him eligibility left,
There you go.
Can you imagine how much, by the way, that guy would have made in NIL? I hate it for that kid.
He would have made so much money. Money.
It's insane. It's insane. But I don't know. All right, so these guys were a tight front. So here's a good kind of. Now the only thing is, they were a tight front, but these guys shifted and stemmed. And the one thing, I mean, like I think it's just I don't think defensive coaches do it enough. Is this? I mean, I think it's when I'm on offense, it's communist. When I'm on defense, it's great. But you stem the line, man, like it's so good, because. You're dealing with high school kids and they've got their call made and they think they're set. And then at the last second, you bump over and you got to make split second decisions really fast, and again, it's just one of those things that's so hard to duplicate, in a week in and week out. So here, we were probably going to arc this with our tackle in their original 4-eye set. He's kind of he's a little bit more of a head up. But then they bump out, and so we adjust, and you can kind of see our left tackle does a pretty good job IDing it. And so we get a pretty good double team here with the displacement. That guy kind of squats it. I think he could give it here. But depending on the down and distance, we talk about when in doubt, know what the play is designed for. So from that standpoint. All right, here's a toss action. We put this in, like I said, I was nervous about this. But again, this was really, really good because it got the ball on the edge quicker for us. And so, again, right here, we're still reading it. Everything's the same for everybody else. But now if that guy squats, we're going to give a little quick pitch, and we're out on the edge, and it's
so
something
is this
you got
a tag for you?
Yeah, it's a tag. It's a tag. I'm changing the name this year. We went off the wristband when I went with the backup quarterback. And so, man, my kids, like, I love them to death, but we were almost like dang John Gruden, man, with some of our play calls. It was so long because with our two-way guys, I found it easier. If I'm going to have a wristband, I'll just tell every single guy what to do. And so, like, if we called our power read was Panther, we would call this Panther fling, right? And so fling is just a fling action. And so it's the formation, Panther, fling, and fling just tells the quarterback in the back that, it's the toss variety. But again, like I'm weird. I think it's what, all of us coaches are weird. Like we probably practiced for 2 weeks before I felt good about it in a game, because all it takes, man, you guys have done it. You see one time the quarterback snap it over toss it over the guy's head, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're never running this, and so, but again, when it works, you're like, all right, I like that, and so it definitely gave us a good little wrinkle. Again, Jones County is really, really good, and so they've got some good speed. Everybody else has the same rules here still, right? I wish our guy would fight for top pad leverage there a little bit better, but it's just toss action, right? And the play action game off it's pretty freaking good too. We got some action. I think I'll show some clips here in a second of that. But again, you can kind of see here, right? Like that kid, that defensive end, man, he's a tall drink of water. He's a good ball player. And matter of fact, our left tackle here, you guys are football purists, so you'll appreciate this. This is Carlos Dansby's son. So he's a true freshman, never played before. And so this was his first game because our starting tackle went down. And, but again, right, like we'd repped it. He knows what to do. I can't ask that kid to block that guy in that moment, but instead we can help him kind of climb and do a decent job.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
motions. All right, here's where we get a little crazy, right? And this is where we get a little, rock and roll. And again, right, like here's the reality. Success is you don't ever want to be a moral victory team. You don't ever want to be a moral victory program. Stockbridge is a really good team. I think they went to the state finals 2 years ago. When Elka played Stockbridge the year before I got here, we had -70 rushing yards and we didn't have a first down. And so, you're trying to talk to your kids about the game and how to be successful. And when they don't have a first down and they had -70 rushing yards, it's kind of like, okay, coach. And so I was in the press box for this game because I hurt my back. I did the Hugh Freeze, not as crazy, but I was coaching from a wheelchair, and we scored to take the lead 7-6. And I kind of joked on the headset. I'm like, we need to do the Lee Corso. We need to take the picture of the scoreboard, But again, right, here's a wrinkle
Coach,
with number 6.
Real quick, I also need you to do the Hugh Freeze on getting the screen back too, because it's down like Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze, yeah, I know. We won't talk about what he is sharing on the internet. That's not.
Lane Kiffin's not much better.
I know. But so here, again, if I'm scouting us, all right, the back's away, right? You may be getting power read to the field, or anything else like that. The other thing that was really helpful, number 21, who's our best back, he got hurt on like the 4th play of this game, and so fortunately we kind of had this in, but we motioned the guy over, and then we're bringing him back across, and so now we're running power read. Again, into the boundary. And so it's just now number 6 can do a better job kind of carrying out his fake, in his defense too. We motioned him a lot. And so that's probably one thing that I got to do a better job of next year is making sure that we motion different guys because, if we had the GPS on him and how many miles he ran, it'd probably be pretty high.
Coach, did you find that people would try to set their front towards your running back or away from your running back?
For sure, 100%. Yeah, 100%, especially with how many even front teams we played. One of the things that, kind of we're looking at too right now, Coach Dixon, is and again, I try to think about what did I hate as a defensive coordinator. And, I think it's really good, when you have these teams that'll line up in pistol and then they kind of bring the guy up late, he starts in pistol and then right before the snap, he kind of goes, because I like the pistol. It doesn't always fit great for our run game. But, anything that you can kind of hold the answers to the very end, I think is really, really good. And so we tried to flip the back as much as we could, just give little stuff like that. Because, again, if nothing else, you got to prepare for it on a scout card, and that's not fun. So, again, here, kind of same unbalanced formation, motion the guy over, right, and then bring him back, right? And so now, we kind of have a pretty strong look here because we got that wing, we've got our F leading, and then we've got I thought we had the end zone copy there. And again, we still have that freshman and number 18, man, this defensive end, he's going to Stony Brook, he's a freaking ball player, right? And so we weren't blocking that guy, So let's read him, now 55 can be a little bit tighter on his wrap. If he gets just a little bit tighter, we'll be okay. But again, it was the return motion was a really good wrinkle for us. This is against Hampton, right? Number 1 safety in America. Guys going to Texas A&M, talk about NIL, my word. But again, right? He's really, really good. And so just another little wrinkle that we can do. And we kind of put that in late in the year, and it ended up being pretty solid for us just with that return motion. So the pass game off it, right? We kind of put this in at halftime. We missed this. I'm not one of those coaches that's going to show you guys, hey, every play works. Our quarterback, like I told you, one of the things that he needs to work on is his progression and kind of the pass off of it. I think we could have done a better job as coaches too early on in the year, marrying our protection. I think as the game has evolved and coaches have gotten better and high school kids have gotten smarter, your play action is great, but if your O-line doesn't mirror that protection, and try to make your your run action look just like the run game, it's not as good, you know? And so, you know, you'll see in a second, we made sure that our protection looked like the power read action off of it. But again, off that fling action, right? Like I would love it if this guy would just take a shot to number 6 here. Right. Like, I mean, that would tickle my heart, you know, but we don't do it. You know, but again, we have a shot, you know, we get a shot with our guy against one of their, you know, better players. And so we'll take that. Here's a really good look here. This is, you know, a similar deal. You've seen early in this game that we've run that. So here we kind of have a couple, we've married a couple concepts. Coach Fox, who was my OC in Florida, was a big post wheel guy. I mean, I love the guy to death. He's a great coach. I tried to get him to come up here. Am I still sharing the screen?
Yeah,
you're good.
Perfect. And so we have post wheel here, and then we actually have a lottery choice here. And so our lottery concept is he's got a 3-way go. So he can run a quick out if they're giving us free access. He can run a go, or he can run a skinny post. I don't love the post action when we have it married with this because we don't want two guys running into each other. And so here it's a 3rd and 8, right? I think he honestly could have taken the quick out action, but the one thing that this kid, he loved to run the go, and so I think we kind of knew that was probably going to be the route. But again, this kid, right, has been trying to play the toss the whole game, trying to play the toss the whole game, and so now he kind of comes up and fills, right, and then we have that clear out, and we do a really good job just kind of settling in the zone off that wheel action there. You'll see another clip in a second. Here's where, sorry for the crazy nose. Here's where we did a better job as the year went on, marrying it with the look, right? And so again, that last clip, to me, it's okay, but we didn't make it look as good as it could have been because the protection didn't match, right? Well, here, for those linebackers, they've been getting, you know, power read looks the whole week, right? And so now we give that same action from the pass protection and look at the difference.
Now we lost you, Coach.
Right?
Sorry.
Oh, frick. All right, I'm coming back.
No worries. As right as you go, and now look at it.
Yeah,
and I was like,
now,
no,
right?
we can't.
Yeah. How to share
Start
screen.
out with and now.
Yeah, and now. Right. And so before, you know, we really weren't getting those linebackers to commit. And now, you know, with that guard action, you can see the linebackers really, really drive up, and that's what we want. And so we kind of have a drive concept. You know, he cuts his route off too short. He should be at 10. But, you know, again, from a quarterback that's not maybe a pure passer to start the year, right? This is a pretty simple pitch and catch on a 3rd and 5, you know, against a really good ball club. I mean, I think they ended up number 2 in our region, right?
All right,
Same
Coach,
look.
I got a question about the protection.
Yeah. Talk to me.
So you're pulling the guard.
Yes, sir.
What, like, just tell me the responsibilities across here.
All right, so it's still like a gap scheme protection. Typically speaking, like if we were to just call, I won't give the color, but you know, let's say everybody's gap stepping right. So he's gap stepping right, he's gap stepping right, and the back fits off the edge. It's just slide protection, right? All we're doing here is we add a G tag to it, and so everybody's stepping down still to this side, right? He's blocking back, he's going to step and hinge. The guard is just fitting off the edge. It's really it's that simple. And so if we whatever slide call we just call a slide with a G tag. And so now, you know, it's a brown protection per se for us in our language, right? And now the guard is just replacing, you know, and we have this back on this fling action. He's kind of our release. You'll see in this game, they're going to get us hot off the edge, which made it a little bit trickier, you know, and so we got to make sure that the back is kind of our hot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about how to break it in my head, so I just wanted to hear all the rules.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that was our best way that we could, because again, I think if you watch, you know, now the thing is, I think he could be a little bit tighter. But to be honest with you, like one of the problems was like if you sent us 2 off the edge quick, that gave us an issue, right? When we were trying to do this, you know, and so I think I actually may even have a clip of that. So here's the same deal here, a little bit different of concept, kind of a Y cross deal, right? But again, they're all gap stepping down. He's coming around, right? We have the relief from the back. The back kind of turns it into a wheel, which I didn't hate, but man, you can see the crossers right there. Like, let's pull the trigger right now, son. You know, now, granted, this kid's an alien. He's going to Texas A&M, and so I think our kid saw that from the end zone copy, and he's like, "Oh crap, coach." But again, you know, like we're gap step. Tackle's going to step and hinge. We're gap stepping down our center. I don't, we called our center sometimes Mama Bear because he was always trying to help out everybody else. He probably doesn't need to help too much here. He's fine at it because I don't like this gap for the potential run through. But again, like, man, let's get our crosser the ball right there. But I do see the freaking Sean Taylor 2.0 back there. So I understand it. Here's another good look off it as well. And I really, this is one of the better jobs by our quarterback. A little bit of a Y pop action off of it. So we'd run some tight end stuff with this. And so we kind of just tell these guys, you're a distractor. I think he maybe runs a bubble. We're just trying to take these guys out of the picture. But we've got the Y pop variant. And then if the safety helps, then we've got like a glance route coming on the backside from here. And so again, right, a really good job by our quarterback here, right? Like he finds it, the safety helps, fill up your hips, come to the glance route. We get the PI, and so that was just kind of a good wrinkle to it. I lied to you. I don't have the one clip. I'm one of those coaches. I don't show where you beat me. But now this was that second game of the year. I think the protection, if we had the protection in, this would have been even more open, right? We didn't have that protection in this yet because we didn't do spring football. That was already a decision that was made before I got here. We're doing it this year. But again, you can kind of see, right? Like we're running power read to the boundary, running power read to the boundary. We leak the kid out. Oh my gosh, right? He drops it, and so this is my favorite part though, man. Like this is my son. He is the best football coach that I know. And he is just crushed, like he is just like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? I asked him after the game if he said any bad words. He said he doesn't remember. So, I think he gets a pass for that one. But yeah, that's that variant. That's that action. I'll get to this counter look. I don't want to go too long. I know we got Paw Patrol and Bluey to get to. This is honestly this is my favorite thing.
Reshare real quick.
Yep, got it. Jessica, my computer's not being behaved. My wife just came down. It keeps kicking me off the screen. I know. All right, so this was our best stuff, man. Like I love this, because again, I think I told you guys this clinic. We played a team this year, and I was watching their linebackers warm up and pregame, and they were just keying the back, and wherever the back went, they were stepping. And I'm like, man, if you're gonna do that, brother, like I got something for that, And so I also think this is really good for those teams that key the guards too, because you watch the teams that play Georgia, they kind of run this as well. Because again, if you can get your guy on the edge and the backers are keying the guards and they're running the wrong way, you got a chance. It looks like power read. And then I'll show you kind of a crazy one here where we kind of got really wonky off of it. And so again, we had the luxury. We're close to Georgia Tech. We see a lot of Georgia Tech stuff. Coach Faulkner was at Valdosta State the year before I got there. We got some connections there. And so we joked around and said that our quarterback was the high school Haynes King, great value, or our Aldi Haynes King. Now, the key that we talk about here for him, that's the difference from the power read. The power read, we let him get 2 to 3 shuffles. You cannot shuffle, right? And so like, how do we practice this? Every day we have a 5 to 10 minute period where we just work on reads, and I tell them, what we're doing and whether you can shuffle or not. And so here, we're going to run counter. We like to run it to the left because these were our 2 converted tight ends last year. Yes, I know my line is tilted and that's driving me crazy looking at it, but we'll fix that. But again, we're going to read this defensive end right here. He's responsible still for the +1 player, just like he was before. The key for the back too is he's got to be flat, right? Like he can't. I tell him if you go upfield, you're going to have to go to the dentist after the game, right? Because you're going to get your crap rocked. And so again, right, like we're going to read that defensive end. Quarterback's rules. The run play is designed for you, right? So you can kind of see he does a great job here. He doesn't shuffle. His eyes are on 5, right? He kind of gets upfield. Boom, we'll pull it, right? And, I think that's a good business decision, right? Like, you've got your yards, right? You see a guy that's coming down with bad intentions, again, know when to try to truck him and know when to, not. The one thing, too, I want to point out, man, like, and I know you guys are ball coaches, and, like, what I love, right? Like, it's a team deal here, right? And so I think, like, our guys kind of learn throughout the year, right? Like I love the runoff here by this guy, right? Like if you're in man coverage and you ID man coverage, run them off, right? And so like I love that. Like that crap fires me up more than just about anything, and so we try to always highlight that the best that we can during film. Here's again, this was our first region road win, first road region shutout, in I think 6 years. But again, a counter action off of it, right? I think I have the end zone copy or a tighter copy, right? And I think the benefit of this stuff too with the gap scheme is like, we're playing some defenses that are defenses of the week, where you don't know what you're going to get, right? Like these guys, they were good,
Lost
but
again.
yeah, coming back.
While you're coming back, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you guys get anyone that mesh charges you when you start doing all this stuff?
Yeah. No, not exactly. So,
No.
No. I would say, and the only reason I'm saying that, like, I'm trying to think back. Some of the guys that mesh charged us, I just think were some of those really. I don't think it was intentional. Like, I don't think it was a game plan. I think it was just the the defensive end that's just kind of like, I'm so athletic, I'm going to get there in 3 steps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that was our comment. If we were getting this a lot, we had attack echo, right? And we knew that if you got the handoff, that we could be in trouble on the play, but we said, screw it, we're going to mesh charge right through the quarterback. We're going to slow this down because we know if we go right through and we smoke that quarterback, he's right. He gets a little more tentative and everything else.
I mean, you think about that.
So that was always our answer when we got all this bash stuff. I was like, call a mesh charge. Let's see where we land on the next play.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, and again, right, like, because again, like, you wearing the defensive hat. Like, think about the national championship game where Mendoza just get his crap rocked on one of those. You know, like, So we didn't see it a ton. We got a couple wrinkles and stuff. Like, I think some of the toss stuff may help with that. And different things. But yeah, I mean, that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like when we did this about Austin State, like if you got mesh charge, like you better rep that. And so again, like we would during that indie period, like that was my exercise because I'm the end, you know what I mean? And like I would joke with the kids, I'm like, every time you make the wrong read, it's $1. And so like I would mesh charge, just to try to simulate it the best that we could. So that's a great question. The one thing I will say though too is we do a lot of off the counter, like a slip action where we'll slip the back. And so if I think you're mesh charging with that end, we'll try to slip them, and just kind of slip it back into the flats. And so I think because that was a big staple of our pass game, we didn't get that as much because, again, and it's not a knock on us, but I think some of those guys were just kind of like, we'll live with it. You know what I mean? And so again, here he just kind of squeezes, right? We get a decent little action off of it. And it's funny because like I said, like this wasn't who we were, and each game kind of evolved differently. We probably ran more counter bash, this game in particular, because honestly too, like, and this isn't a knock on these guys, like their fronts were so unique. I'll put it that way. Like it wasn't like, man, these guys are going to be a tight front. These guys are going to be a 50. These guys are going to be, an even and not. Like these guys kind of threw some different looks at us, and so it was just kind of like, hey guys, like you take your step, and we'll sort it out. You know what I mean? And our O-line did a really good job. Here's one of the examples that I joke with my kid. He cuts his highlight film off right here, because again, right, like we tackle on the 2-yard line, it's okay. We ran duo for a touchdown on the next play. Right. But again, right, we've run power read out of this action, from earlier clips, right? Now we're just going to run the bash look, right? And we don't really even, our backside tackle really almost overruns this guard, or sorry, the linebacker, but we get a walk-in touchdown. And so, again, counter bash was really, really good for us. And again, I love counter, man. Like counter, split flow counter slip. Counter to me is God's favorite football play. Any different way that you can run it, man, we're going to try to do it. It's kind of funny too, because my younger version of my, coach would always be like, man, you can't run counter on the first play of the game because, you can't counter something. But there's a couple times this year where I almost broke that rule myself. Because like what I'm telling you too, and so this isn't from this thing, but like if we felt like you were going to mesh charge, essentially we would run traditional counter right here. We'd pull. and then instead of running like a slam action where he's going to hit the end, he'll slip in the flats. And then these guys are just blocking on the perimeter. We had a 75-yard touchdown in this game on the third play of the game on that play, and the official said that my left tackle was too far in the backfield because I don't know, didn't get a warning.
Gotta love that.
Yeah, I was thrilled. Yeah, I was. I mean, hadn't gotten it called all year. The kid's 6'7", right? And like he's got an unorthodox stance, and I'm like, and again, high school officials, we love them, but they said his foot was too far in the backfield, and I said, is his head breaking the hip? And he goes,
that's it. That's the rule.
And he said, that's not the rule, it's foot. And I said, nope, sir, that's not, But I will say, man, some of our officials this year, I actually had. Well, two crazy things happened this year. We had one official that asked to see the iPad, which I'd never had before. So I showed him the iPad of a play.
I've gotten a penalty for showing the iPad to an official.
Yeah, I had it. So we threw a now screen, like a little relief now screen RPO, and they called it a backwards pass, and it was that Locust Grove game. We lost, I think, 52-35, which triggers me because it sounds like that score I lost to you guys in. But and that was a pick. They called it a scoop and score, and it was a 4.5-yard forward pass. And so I'm kind of arguing. My head of school is freaking awesome. We're a private Christian school. My head of school's about to get on the field. He's arguing, because it was such a bad call. And the official on my side goes, Coach, can you pull up the iPad? I want to see if you're right. And so I showed him, and he goes, we messed that up. And so the white hat came to me at halftime. He goes, Coach, my bad. We messed that up. And I mean, honestly, like I can appreciate that. I can take it.
Two things. A, reshare your screen. But then the second thing is I can take it if a ref looks at me when they screwed up. I have a similar story where I burn a timeout right before a play, and the ref, as he brings his whistle up, he for some reason didn't have like the hand one. He had like a regular one. I have no idea why. And the whistle slipped out of his mouth, and so he just lets the play go. And I said, man, I called a timeout. And they get in a huddle. I look at the guy, I said, did I call a timeout? And he goes, yeah. And they come back and they go, well, the snap was imminent. I go, that's not a rule. I was like, it's either a timeout before the snap or after it, but it's not the snap being imminent. It's not a rule. And that's what killed me was I was like, I looked at the guy, I looked at the white hat, I go, just tell me you screwed up and I'll walk away and not say another word. And he goes, I'm not going to do that. And I go, well, then I need you to throw a flag on me.
Yeah.
And he was so shocked. I said that. I go, I need a personal foul then. I need one. Because I'm going to throw the damn flag.
Yeah. And so he, that was tough. I mean, and again, like I will say, the officials I had this year in comparison to Florida, there was a consistency level to it. There was a professional level. I mean, y'all have been, we've been there. Like, I was shocked because these officials, they show up to our school like 4:30 for a 7:00 game. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Wow.
And they're like, we're here for the game. And I'm like, what? I'm like, my bad. I'm like, in Florida, we're doing the national anthem. And
they roll in 10 minutes.
They're walking down in the parking lot, and so, but yeah, I mean, he apologized and said, we messed it up. The other one we had a kid knock our kicker's helmet off on a PAT. He roughed the kicker and knocked his helmet off, and they didn't throw a flag. And I said, well, then my kicker should have to come out of the game because his helmet came off. Like, if you're not going to call it. And he goes, no, that's only a ball carrier. And I'm like, no, not the rule. And so it's funny, man. But yeah. So again, a little counter bash here. Let me kind of get through. Here's a fun one. We kind of morphed it. We got another kid to come out. So here's our tight end wing. Again, probably one of my favorite formations. I wish we did more out of it. But we would run buck sweep out of this. And it's just a great action and great look. And so this was kind of a big buck tell, for them, and the gaps that we had. Right. And so now, again, if we get the give read, we've got two pretty athletic kids arcing here. We're reading 13, and we're okay. Instead, we get a pull, and I'm okay with that. Let me see here. What else? All right. So again, later on, again, red zone, again, this used to be really all we did in the red zone, or the only time we did it, but, we had to evolve, and it's just funny, man. Like, it's just the belief that it gave our kids, because again, like, you guys, we're younger. And I know when we played and our coaches would tell us stuff and you would just do it because your coach said, man, do it. Right. And like, I get that. Kids these days also too, they got to believe that what you're telling them is going to give them a chance to be successful, And so like, and they're realists. Like they know that this kid, number one, is going to Texas A&M and he's about to be a millionaire. Like he's a good football player. And so, like you have to give them some chance of, hey, like this is what we're going to do. And it's going to give us just a chance. And if not, then they can see through it, And so like, if we were just going to say, hey man, guys, we're just going to run power or, whatever. I think our kids are realistic enough and smart enough to go, Coach, I ain't gonna block that guy. Like I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, this is actually, and I love this kid too. Like this was our starting quarterback as a year, from the year, and when he came back from injury, right? Like he went over to slot receiver and played it for us because he wasn't as, I would say muscular in the run game and stuff. But again, like you're a small school, like you got to find a way, man. Like you gotta find the 11 guys that can help you out and play. And so. Here's again some of that return motion, from that same variant, right? So we're kind of starting in quads. You can kind of see these guys gave a little bit more, a little bit less, I'm sorry, reaction to motion, but we still did it just for the eye candy piece. And again, as a defensive coach, right? Like we tried to move as least as possible when you motion, because the more you move, the more I'm going to motion, So again, here we go. We got that tight end wing set. I've got essentially a jet to the field if I want it. He's upfield, right? We just get a little bit loose and our quarterback misses the hole from that standpoint. So it was really, really, this is where you guys will think I'm crazy probably. So this is a counter, but then what we ended up doing off of this was we ran the option off of it. So we have counter bash, and then we're running the option with that other quarterback. So, right, like again, if you got two quarterbacks that can play them both. And so this was actually 4th and 2. Yes, I was in the press box in the wheelchair, so if the fans were getting mad, I wouldn't be able to hear them anyway, so I figured why not, right? This is our basketball player that's going to try to come and crack the +1 because now we have a different rule because this guy's not blocking the +1. He's pitch relationship. We're reading this end, and then our quarterback's just going to attack it. And then obviously here we get a man look, and so we're just going to run him off. And so, right, we get the square kind of squeeze. Right, we get a give. Now, if you're squeamish, look away because 15.
Hold on, Coach. You got to reload it real quick.
Yeah,
reload it. We got to see it real
reload.
quick. This is too good not to reload.
That's really frustrating. I know. Sorry. All right.
No, you're good.
All right. And so here we go. So we have, if you're squeamish, look away because my basketball player. Now, I think part of this is my fault too because, I was like, hey, be careful. It's a blind side. I don't want you to, decleat the kid and we get a penalty. And so we try to be smart here. I wish he gets a little bit more of 11, right? But we get the give read off of 31 on 4th and 2. Then, this kid was a backup running back. The starter had gotten hurt earlier in the game, so his pitch relationship wasn't great, right? But then we get the pitch off of it. And again, that was one of those where I'm like, you know what? Why the heck not? And so it's just a different wrinkle off of it, right? It's the same deal. We're still reading it. The quarterback can still pull it, right? But we get the give there. He kind of squats. We get on the edge, we pitch it, and we convert on a 4th and 2 on our own end.
I love it. I love it.
People thought I was crazy on that. Here's another a little action that we did, which I thought was really, really good. This was off of the counter as well. And so this is kind of what that kid did earlier on. So here we have, we kind of have 4 choices for him. The first choice is a pre-snap number choice, right? Like, do you have the bubble, right? If you have the bubble, take it. If you feel like they take that away, then we kind of want him to slow play it. So he kind of has a seam. And then he has the relief rail, which is the last option is then him to run it. Now, and again, this is some split second decisions here, right? We have 3 over 3. We take the bubble, pitch and catch, go Chargers. I almost said the wrong name.
Yeah. This is vintage Baker Mayfield when they played Georgia in that epic bowl game. They did this stuff, and it was. I remember being like, I wouldn't want to defend against this.
No, dude, I know. And the hard thing
GT
is
plus the RPOs plus the pre-snap, and it's like
it's so good. The hard thing is just getting your quarterback to see it and make the quick decisions and live with it, right? And so, like again. Here's a similar look, but just a different action with a tight end here. But we've got the bubble action, right? Then we've got the counter, right? And now he kind of back shoulders a rail here, and this kid makes an unbelievable catch. Stupid. But like, here's a really good look at the same deal here. So again, we ran this earlier. He doesn't like the numbers on the bubble. I'm fine with it. right? This backside backer kind of covers the seam, right? But this corner here is kind of, here. And now my front side tackle blocks out because I love the kid to death, but he busts, right? He shouldn't be doing that, right? But again, that kid's, do I fit? Do I not? Right? And we do a really good job just kind of giving a relief throw here, and so again, like you said, I don't, the more I can get their kid to go over to his coach and go, coach, what are you telling me to do? Like, you're wrong. The better, can we put doubt in that kid's head right now here? And again, I told you guys, I'm not one of those guys, right? Here's where we miss it, right? Because again, we have a similar look, right? I'm fine with the bubble being, we don't take the bubble, but we take our eyes off the seam. Now, again, he mesh charges it, right? Pretty decent mesh charge, not great, right? But I mean, look at the seam. I mean, like, golly Moses, like we came off of it too quick, and the one thing I try to tell my quarterback is like, man, it's 1st and 10, like we're kind of calling a shot play. We'd kind of known that this guy was kind of coming over here a little bit. We knew that they didn't really line up to the unbalance great. And so I would just kind of love it if we can kind of retreat a little bit and just drill that seam right there. And in 7, 7 was the backup for this game. And so he doesn't really expand. And we kind of pissed down our leg a little bit. All right, last one. So this is really good. This is off of that fling action. But now we're going to add the F as a lead blocker on, like, basically we're running GY counter, but we're running the F as the wrap guy. And so we're going to still have a fling, but the fling is really just for eye candy here. I don't really want to toss it because we're kind of tossing naked. We're tossing to nobody. But again, it's the same read. But now we're going to kick that guy. So this guy has been kind of slow playing it and not getting touched. Well, now we want him to touch dirt a little bit. We want him to kind of get, an ear hole. And so here, right, we fling it, and he's used to being able to just retrace. Well, now, we get a little, hey, here's my little sophomore converted tight end that, gets to put you on the ground a little bit, bucko. Right now, again, my running back, love the kid to death. Blocking wasn't his strong suit. Touch somebody, son. Right? Like, get somebody, get somebody, I'm sure you guys tell it all the time. Like, I promise you, I'll never be mad if you hit somebody wearing the other color. I promise. Right. Again, 3rd and 1, the fling action, we're going to just kick out, right? We get vertical short yardage, pretty good deal here. Now, this one's a little bit different. We kind of put this in. This is, I forget who I stole this from. What's that? Reshare?
Reshare.
Yeah. Man, I bet you this goes really smooth without the reshares. But
and
here,
that wouldn't be the board drill podcast if not.
Yeah. Here we're going to get a slip. And so he's reading this Mike backer. If the mic stays in the box for the fit, then we're going to throw the slip screen. If the mic expands, then we're running GY counter with the F on the wrap. And this kid's a great football player, man. He's a baseball player, but he's a football player. And so if you watch my right tackle, I don't know what he's doing. I'm mad at him for this. But, we get a slip, right? He kind of expands. He goes out. That was their mic. And so now the F leads up through. It's a really good job getting on the fit, it's a 5-yard carry. Don't look the fact that let's not look at that. It's 7 and 17, all right. 2nd and 17. Okay. Don't look at that. You know what that was? That was because those jerks kept shifting the line and anger. All right. Here's a good look, right? Like, this is where it's a bad protection here from me. It's a bad design, because we get a fling action. But I don't have a blocker for the fling. And so I shouldn't have motioned here, right? They stopped moving because we were motioning so much. And so we kind of fling it, but we fling it to nobody. And so I think you got to be honest with your kids too in your eval. I mean, like, that note is what I shared with my kids. Like, hey, I didn't help us here. I didn't do my job because, again, I don't like the coaches that say, I cost us or I won us the game, because then I think that you got to have, everybody's got to have, shared ownership, right? Here's that same slip action, right? Little same side slip. We bust it here, but we got a chance, on that front action, and then Yeah, this is the last one. We're just like a little G wrap action. You know, if you're going to give us an empty box, we'll motion over, and then these guys played a really really light box. And so we just kind of get as many double teams as we can get, dude. We'll try to do as much action as we can, and if you're going to vacate the box, we'll just run like a zone G wrap to do the best we can. So yeah, man. We're not everything that you see on here. We stole at some point. We just try to give our kids a chance to be successful. You guys are really good coaches, and I've coached against you. And man, there's some years where you can coach your tail off and you get a first down and you're pumped. And then there's some years where it's like, man, this is easy. This is fun. I will say, I think our kids, we took some really big strides this year. I think we kind of found out our identity. Now, again, we got to adjust and adapt. In a perfect world, we'd have another quarterback come up through that can do the same stuff. But, just like I was talking about earlier, I mean, I think, Matt, wasn't that you? Like, because the one year you guys threw it a bunch, and then the next year we came to your place, and you guys had that running back, and it was like you ran the ball
Keontae.
75 times. Yeah, Keontae. Yeah.
Well, our quarterback got injured, I think, the week before that. So we rolled into that game. My starting quarterback was out. My backup quarterback got his tonsils removed or something the day of the game. Of course, couldn't reschedule that. So we were down to.
I think I called the orthodontist. I called the dentist on that one. Yeah, don't reschedule. Okay, we got to keep it now.
He was a senior. Like reschedule. Yeah. This is your one chance to start. So we literally just took our running back, put him at quarterback, called the same plays.
Yeah,
it was just quarterback power, quarterback. Yeah, and he actually threw a bubble screen when he was not supposed to throw a bubble screen. I think he went for a touchdown. I was really upset. Upset. Why are we throwing the ball with him?
Yeah. I mean, it's just you gotta adapt to who you have, and it's and it's fun. Like, no, there's some people out there that they can get in the portal and they can go pick, and that's fun too. I imagine, you know what I mean. But man, honestly too, like I don't know about you guys, but like this year, even though we went 3-7, I had some fun too because you can kind of try some stuff. You know what I mean? You can like. You think I was going to call that counter bash option when I had Lorenzo or when, I'm like, no, like, what kind of an idiot does that? But, when you got some guys that, maybe are a little bit outgunned, it's like, okay, let's figure out ways to give us a chance,
Yep.
Absolutely. No, I love it. I think it's creative and, funny enough, Coach, it'll be before this podcast gets released, but I just wrote an article on ODU, Old Dominion, and all the crazy stuff they do, Coach. And it's ludicrous.
Yeah, it's absurd.
It just feels like it was perfect timing to have this podcast and that article. They're going to be basically about 5 days apart. It's like, well, you want to talk about wild like Q read and run game and all this stuff. This podcast and that article are going to go hand in hand. They're going to be awesome, great.
Because I want to say the like you're talking about that Baker Mayfield stuff. Like I saw an ODU clip from them doing something similar, and I was like, "Yep, gonna try that. Gonna add that."
I'll send it to you, Coach. Don't worry, I got all the cut ups done. So
it's as long as you got a quarterback that can handle it, man. It's fun. And then the other thing too, like you got to make sure, like, and we joke about it. Every quarterback, no matter what, like. I was a backup at Valdosta State, and the joke was with me that every time they called a run play, I was pulling it, which is partially true, right? And so you just got to really, hammer it home. Hey, make smart reads, make the right choice. I'll never forget the national championship game. Our backup running back was like, dude, you've pulled it 18 times in a row. Can you give me one carry in the national championship? I'm like, I got you. But yeah, man, the reps and, but I mean, again, like, it makes a defensive coach's life hard because if I can put doubt in that kid's head, and that coach is telling him to do this and do this and do this, and then now it's not successful. I got a chance, because again, I'm not going to be able to all the time outcoach. I'm not going to outcoach Rick Darlington, like I'm going to do my best. But he's seen a lot more than I have. But can I trick his kids? Yeah, I got a chance at that,
Yeah.
Well, Coach,
absolutely.
We end every podcast with the same question.
Okay.
And it's a tough one, but we're going to ask it anyways because we always do. What's the most unique or different thing your program does that no one else does? It can be anything. It doesn't have to be field,
X's
on the field, classroom, don't care.
It's a good question. What's a
We know. That's why we ask it. Matt, while he's thinking, you know what I was thinking, that he was going to say, the backup running back said, "Can you give me a carry?" And I told him I got you, and then I pulled it anyways.
I didn't. But I did tell him in the huddle. I was like, I should have pulled it. It was freaking wide open.
Kyle, hang on, Coach. Kyle, I'm gonna let you think a little bit more.
Yeah.
Kyle, I got upset sitting here when Coach was talking about our game because I had like a flashback to the first quarter in our game against University there. Our quarterback, we had a really good quarterback, but he always wanted to try to push the ball downfield. So we worked all week on, we're going to run hitch seam. They have a outside linebacker / safety. His name's Elias Jacobs. He's going to carry deep with it. Do not throw it, Elias. He's a great athlete. I coached him at New Smyrna. You know, he's a great athlete. Do not throw it there. Throw it into the boundary. Throw the hitch into the boundary. The corner's going to be playing off. We're going to take that until they bite down on it. And dang it, if he doesn't throw that first seam route and it gets picked off.
Oh, yeah.
Dang,
that's the most,
sometimes you coach it and you coach
most,
it and you coach it and it just doesn't translate to the game.
Yeah.
And if you knew that kid, that's the most thing that kid would do too. You're just like, hey, we worked on this all week. And he's like, screw you, I'm chucking it deep.
Yeah, exactly. But again, from a standpoint, right? Like, because these kids, they get this pressure. Like, you know, I'm not gonna have a highlight throwing hitches. You know, like I got to push the ball downfield. Okay, all right, I got it. So the thing that we did this year, I think we steal everything. The thing that we did this year that was probably the most unique, that I don't know that everybody does, and it was because of our numbers and because we're a smaller school. We didn't have the luxury of doing split teams. So like, all right, team O's down here, team D's down here. We did team every day, like a game. And so we would do 4 plays of team O on one day, and then we would run out the punt unit or run out the field goal unit, whatever. And so we would script team like the game to try to teach our two-way guys the transition. And so we would go now on Monday, it was really more so Tuesday, Wednesday. And so Tuesday was a heavy offensive focus. And so maybe they would get a 5 to 6 play rack, and then defense would get a 3 to 4 play rack. And then Wednesday would be flipped. So we would script, you get 6 plays of offense. We're going to run out the punt unit. Then the defense is going to run out and the scout O runs out. And we're going to go 3 plays of that. And so that was something that we did that I ended up really liking. And again, it was just because I think it helped with the flow and transitions, because kids don't watch football. They don't understand. They don't get that aspect of it. And then you could also build in sudden change, you know? And so we would, on some days we would have 5 plays of offense and there's a fumble. All right. Defense run out, you know, and trying to get and we had kids that would say, man, coach, I'm a 2-way all-star. And so I'm like, okay, well, we just went through 5 plays of offense, go to defense. Coach, I need a water break. So how are you going to be a 2-way all-star on Friday night if you can't do 8 plays right now, you know? And so that was something that we did. And honestly, I was scared to death doing it, because I'm like, man, these guys are going to think I'm the craziest person in the world. But we did it, and it worked for us, and we'll keep doing it again.
I like that.
I love it. Love every minute of it. Well, Coach, appreciate your time tonight. Love it. Love the Q run variations and going through it all. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a really good theme for us over the next 5 days to talk about all these crazy Q runs. So appreciate you coming on the Board Drill Podcast. Obviously, if there's ever anything we can do for you, just let us know. We appreciate having you on tonight.
You guys are killing it, man. I appreciate you.
All right. For Coach, for Matt, for me, have a good night. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Board Drill Podcast.